CBS News headquarters in New York. This is the CBS Evening News.
It was an earthquake today in the world of artificial intelligence. Good evening. I'm John Dickerson.
I'm Maurice DuBois. And the aftershocks were felt from Washington to Wall Street and Silicon Valley. Signs that China may be catching up to the United States in the AI race sent tech stocks plunging.
A Chinese startup called DeepSeek has created an AI model at a much lower cost than the U.S. competition. Its AI assistant was today Apple's most downloaded app, surpassing the AI app ChatGPT and Threads, a social media app.
California-based NVIDIA, which makes the chips that power AI, lost nearly $600 billion in market value, the biggest one-day loss by a company ever. AI will be a growing part of our lives in medicine, transportation, education, and beyond.
It's being called a Sputnik moment for America's AI industry. That's a reference to the panic in the U.S. when the Soviets leaped ahead in the space race in the 1950s. So Margaret Brennan joins us from Washington. Margaret, Sputnik moment, or is that a little overhyped?
Well, it could be a Sputnik moment or a shot across the bow. All of it matters, John and Maurice, because the U.S. and China are in an arms race when it comes to AI. Former President Biden said it's the most consequential technology of all time, possibly, and it poses profound risks. So this technological leap made by China's DeepSeek using inferior computer chips at a cost 20 to 30 times less than leading American firms really got the attention of CEOs and investors that I've spoken with today, who think this could drive more urgency among companies to innovate. If the technology is lower cost, more people may use it. And President Trump's AI czar said today, we can't be complacent. We know the last administration tried to keep America's edge in this space by banning high-tech chips from being sold to China. So news that a Chinese firm claims they did all of this with basic computer chips does raise national security concerns.
And what are those national security implications, Margaret? How do we expect the Trump White House to respond here?
We don't know yet, Maurice. I have spoken to U.S. policymakers who are always skeptical about believing what any Chinese firm claims because of the tight Communist Party control of industry. So they're not completely convinced DeepSeek is being honest when they claim they achieved a breakthrough on their own. But in terms of risk, a CEO I spoke with today joked DeepSeek makes TikTok look like Sesame Street, meaning the U.S. is trying to ban that social media app TikTok because of evidence that its owner can and will siphon up information about Americans and use it to control and shape information that they consume. So DeepSeek could do the same in the AI space. And at this hour, millions of Americans have downloaded it. So keep in mind here, Chinese law requires companies to assist in intelligence gathering if it is requested by their government.
Okay, Margaret Brennan tonight in Washington, thank you.
And there is another Chinese threat to U.S. security, and it also involves high technology.
Jim Axelrod shows you how Chinese spies are targeting U.S. service members on social media to get American military secrets.
It was here on this sprawling seaside Navy base in Southern California where Thomas Zhao, then a 26-year-old naval electrician, admitted to passing sensitive documents to an undercover Chinese intelligence officer. We are taking it.
That it is.
Jim Axelrod. Thank you, Jim.
Now, some of the top stories from around the world in tonight's Evening News Roundup. The first significant rain to hit Southern California in 8 months touched off mudslides in areas scarred by wildfires. Lonnie Quinn will have an update later in the broadcast.
ICE agents Sunday detained nearly 1,000 migrants for deportation. That's 3 times the daily average during the last year of the Biden administration.
In Poland, the ceremony today at Auschwitz, site of the Nazi death camp, marked 80 years since it was liberated. 56 people who were freed that day were in attendance.
And President Donald Trump is meeting tonight with House Republicans in Miami. Robert Costa reports it's an effort to head off internal fights in the party over tax cuts, spending, and the debt limit.
Still ahead here on tonight's CBS Evening News.
I'm Mark Strassman. Here in the Los Angeles fire wreckage, another disaster is now smoldering. People who are uninsured or underinsured and face staggering losses.
I'm Elizabeth Palmer in East Jerusalem. As a flood of Gazans return to their destroyed communities, the terrorist group that started the war with Israel is planning a comeback. That's next on the CBS Evening News.
If you have heart failure or chronic kidney disease, Farxiga can help you keep living life, because there are places you'd like to be. Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine and bacterial infection between the anus and genitals, both which may be fatal. Severe allergic reactions, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections, and low blood sugar. Stop taking and tell your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, rash, swelling, trouble breathing or swallowing. Tell your doctor about lightheadedness, weakness, fever, pain, tenderness, redness or swelling between the anus and genitals. Ask your doctor about Farxiga today.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check the weather first before sailing.
It's gonna get nasty later.
Yep.
Hey, perfect day for sailing, huh? Have fun on land.
I'll go tell the Coast Guard.
Yep.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Can Archiva support your brain health?
Mary, Janet, hey.
Eddie, no, Fraser, Frank. Frank?
Fred, how are you? Fred.
Support up to 7 brain health indicators, including memory. When you need to remember Nariva.
Tide Pods Ultra Oxy one-ups the cleaning power of liquid.
Can it one-up whatever they're doing?
For sure.
Seriously?
One-up the power of liquid, one-up the toughest stains. Any further questions? One-up the power of liquid with Tide Pods Ultra Oxy.
The ceasefire with Israel requires Hamas to release 33 hostages in the first phase of swaps. But today, Israel said it's learned 8 are dead.
And look at this, a sea of humanity as tens of thousands of Palestinians return to their homes or what's left of them in northern Gaza. That, too, is part of the ceasefire deal.
Israel's goal is to destroy Hamas, but 15 months of attacks on Hamas targets may be having the opposite effect. Elizabeth Palmer is in East Jerusalem.
It is only a question of time. Liz Palmer joins us now from East Jerusalem. And Liz, does that young man see any other path forward than violence?
He did speak longingly of a future for himself without violence, but he said you need stability and time to plan one. And he's just going to have his hands full finding food and shelter and water to keep his little brother and sister alive. So for young men like him, Hamas is the default. It's organized, it offers structure and salaries.
And Liz, that general said there needed to be some alternative to violence. So what would that look like?
Well, first it would need the ceasefire to hold. Secondly, it needs billions and billions of dollars of reconstruction money from international donors. And thirdly, it needs a peace plan leading to a Palestinian state, and one that doesn't include Hamas. At this stage, all of those are long shots.
Liz Palmer in East Jerusalem tonight. Thank you so much.
The rain in Southern California is ending.
And Lonnie Quinn says it is turning to snow in Arizona. Lonnie.
You betcha, Maurice. Take a look at the video behind me. This is Cottonwood, Arizona, a portion of Arizona that typically doesn't see much snow at all. Maybe 6/10 for the entire winter. They picked up 3 inches this morning. And when you look at the entire country, the story here is interesting because right now, in terms of snowpack, we still have some snow on the ground in the panhandle of Florida. It's kind of unheard of, but what's really rare is last week as that system rolled in, the entire country had snowpack at least at some point, at somewhere in every single state, all 50 with some kind of snowpack. And as far as snow that's on the way, there's a system that's going to push through the Great Lakes into the Northeast tomorrow morning. Could make your drive to work kind of difficult with some snow squalls and limited visibility. Gentlemen?
Wait, hold up, Lonnie. All 50? You mean Hawaii, too?
Okay, look, I can prove it with a picture right here. This is a live camera in Mauna Loa, and down in the bottom corner of your screen, that is some snow on the ground. High elevations in Hawaii often pick up some snow, but yep, all 50 states with some kind of snowpack on the ground at the same time.
Who knew? Okay, Lonnie Quinn, thank you.
Many Americans say they can't afford homeowners insurance.
But without it, they couldn't afford to rebuild after a fire. An Eye on America Catch-22 is next. You could see mile after mile of beautiful houses on wooded landscapes. What you could not see was that many of those homes were uninsured or underinsured. The fires that flattened them and destroyed the lush greenery exposed a national insurance crisis. Mark Strassman has tonight's Eye on America from Altadena.
That's the living room, dining room, kitchen.
Virtually everything Robert Covarrubias owned has settled into heaps of ash.
That's a refrigerator.
His family of 6 has lived in Altadena for 10 years. Their American dream had 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, 2,400 square feet.
From 3 miles, you could see the flames coming our way.
LA's Eaton fire swept through their neighborhood.
It's going to be tough for us to make an inventory of everything we lost, right?
Covarrubias, an IT executive, hopes Alex Traslavina can help. He's an independent insurance adjuster fire victims hire to negotiate with insurance companies. We listened as Traslavina delivered bad news.
You're underinsured when it comes to the policy, and there's clearly not going to be enough to make you whole again.
That's true, even though Covarrubias' homeowner's policy covers more than $1 million in losses.
Based off your numbers, it's anywhere between, $500 to $1 million short.
He's staring at a second disaster, a financial one.
What are you going to do?
I don't know yet.
It's devastating. It hurts.
Traslavina drove us through scarred and scared Altadena neighborhoods. Scared, wondering how they'll ever afford to rebuild.
The cost to rebuild, the materials outpacing the policies.
So the idea that people are going to be made whole in many cases is a pipe dream.
I don't know how families are going to be able to do it.
For some victims, the loss is both total and totally out of pocket. Nationally, 12% of Americans have no home insurance. With premiums soaring, they drop their coverage and roll the dice. And in a disaster like this, lost big.
I don't think most Americans understand that they're underinsured. I think most Americans see insurance as something they have to do.
Jeremy Porter studies property values after natural disasters. Banks and insurance agencies rely on his data. Take Colorado's Marshall Fire in 2021, a roughly $2 billion disaster. An estimated 3/4 of victims discovered they were underinsured.
If your home is completely destroyed, it's very difficult for most insurance policies to cover the complete rebuild of a property. So there's a second layer of kind of re-victimization.
That's where Robert Covarrubias now finds himself. His savings now compete with $1 million in uninsured losses.
Are you determined to rebuild?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. The property's worth it. The place is worth it.
It's his assurance to his family. His insurance makes that more complicated. For Eye on America, Mark Strassman in Altadena, California.
The median cost of a home last year rose more than 4.5%. The cost of insuring one rose almost twice as much. In tomorrow's Eye on America from Voorhees, New Jersey, it's called Medical Aid in Dying. You'll meet a terminally ill woman who made the choice to end her life. And John and I will be back in a moment with a salute to some of the men and women who risked their lives for all of us. For the past 3 weeks, we've been watching as firefighters from all over the country join their colleagues in Southern California battling the wildfires.
As residents ran away from the flames, these brave souls raced toward them, risking their lives to save others. They fight what we fear.
That is what firefighters do every day, men and women, career and volunteer, in cities and towns all across America.
We know them not by their names, but by their deeds, their willingness every day to leave their families to protect ours.
To lay down their lives for neighbors they never met. There is no greater love.
That's the CBS Evening News. I'm John Dickerson. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Maurice DuBois. We hope to see you here tomorrow. Good night.